Daniel Zamudio was born in Chile on August 3, 1987, as the second of 4 children. He openly identified as gay at the age of 17 and was an ordinary young man who enjoyed parties. He lived with his mother and grandmother and worked at a clothing store, aiming to complete his studies, save money, and pursue a career in modeling. On March 2, 2012, Zamudio was last seen by his mother, although it was later confirmed that he had followed his usual work schedule from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. His last known location was at a local cybercafe, where he stayed until 10 p.m. Early in the morning of March 3, 2012, a security guard in San Borja Park found Zamudio in a dire condition. Without any identification, he was immediately taken to a nearby hospital. Zamudio's injuries were severe and included traumatic brain injury, an open fracture of the left tibia and fibula, aspiration pneumonia, rhabdomyolysis, and multiple blunt and sharp traumas to his face, chest, back, and limbs. Additionally, he had cigarette burns and swastika-shaped cuts on his chest and back. Due to the gravity of his condition, he was placed in an induced coma. The perpetrators of the attack were Alejandro Axel Angulo Tapia, 26 years old, Patricio Ivan Ahumada Garay, 25 years old, Raul Alfonso Lopez, 25 years old, Fabian Alexis Mora, 19 years old. Raul Lopez admitted to kicking Daniel Zamudio several times on the head and legs, while also referencing the victim's sexual orientation. He described how Zamudio was deeply bleeding and unconscious, which prompted Alejandro to break a bottle over Daniel's head. Patricio Ahumada then used the bottle's neck to carve a swastika on Daniel's body. Alejandro subsequently used a heavy stone to strike Daniel's stomach and head repeatedly, until Fabian took over and threw the stone at Daniel's legs, causing them to break like chicken bones. After the brutal assault, the attackers left the scene. It was not until 2 a.m. on Sunday that Daniel's identity was confirmed, and his family was informed. The news was grim, indicating that if Daniel survived, he would likely suffer from brain damage. Tragically, Daniel succumbed to his injuries on March 27 after nearly a month of suffering. The perpetrators showed no remorse for their actions. Alejandro Angulo's sister recalled how he bragged about beating a gay man and breaking his legs. Notably, Angulo had his sister's purse with him during the attack, which later tested positive for Daniel's blood. Among the attackers, only Fabian had no prior criminal record. Angulo had been detained twice for robbery. Lopez had a history of violent acts, but Ahumada's record was the most severe. Ahumada had 9 detentions starting at the age of 16, including an incident where he was caught with a baseball bat modified with nails. He had also served 5 years in jail for a violent robbery and had a history of robberies, knife violence, and threats. Despite his violent past, Ahumada's conviction was reduced due to apparent good behavior, and he was granted a release just a week before the crime. However, 2 psychological tests had advised against his release. According to them, Daniel Zamudio was sleeping in the park when the group woke him up. He confessed to Lopez about his fears of being attacked by neo-Nazis due to his sexuality. The group temporarily left him to buy rum, and upon returning, Alejandro initiated the beating. During the assault, Alejandro even urinated on Daniel while the group drank and laughed. The perpetrators received the following sentences. Ahumada was given a life sentence. Angulo and Lopez each received 15 years, and Mora was sentenced to 7 years, which he completed in 2016. Years later, Ahumada remains the most violent member of the group, despite having completed some studies. Mora, the only one released, was interviewed on TVN, where he showed no remorse for his actions. In a bizarre turn of events, the show brought Mora face-to-face with Daniel's father, who then claimed he was unsure about the details of the incident and stated that he had left as soon as the violence began. This contradicted his earlier testimony during the trial. Mora further claimed, "The truth is, I punched his son, but it was because he groped me." He also stated, "I went to jail unjustly. I only punched him. That was my crime. I didn't do anything else. I didn't see anything that those 3 did to him." Despite these contradictions, Mora remains free. Daniel Zamudio's brutal murder sparked widespread outrage against homophobia in Chile, and his name is now associated with the law that punishes LGBT discrimination in the country.